out, you unemployed loser." Beth, my mother-in-law, spat these words at me as I continued to pay off thousands of dollars of my husband's debt every month. My father-in-law, who was kind to me when he was alive, would be turning in his grave. I'd honored his memory by silently shouldering these payments as a devoted daughter-in-law. "You're the epitome of unemployment. Always messing around with your computer and phone. If you have time, get another job." "She's worse than unemployed. She's a conniving woman hoarding our money." Beth and my husband belittled me, the primary breadwinner who had been entrusted with the family business by my late father-in-law. They even betrayed me in unthinkable ways. Fine, I'll leave. No more putting up with this. I agreed to a divorce, gathered my belongings, and left, leaving behind their debt and cluelessness. What awaited them was... My name is Avery. I'm 33 years old, married 9 years ago, and childless. I run a small printing company passed down from my late father-in-law, Orville, and my husband, Colin. Orville passed away 3 years ago, and we had been living with his parents for a few years before that to help with the business. Originally, Colin had been assisting his father since college, and we rented a place close to his childhood home. When Orville wanted to retire due to age, we agreed and moved in. I quit my job at a web design firm to help with Orville's printing business. Right now, it's just us, the husband and wife duo, running the show. Orville once had a female employee, but she left because I could handle the tasks alone. When Orville was alive, cohabitation was fine. But after losing our main source of income, things went south. "Are you planning on just playing around inside all day again?" Beth kept picking on me. I'd take the complaints if I were in the wrong, but I wasn't loafing around. While Colin operated the printing machines and delivered the printing goods, I was in charge of customer and data management. In some cases, if the submitted data is incomplete, I correct it. Beth didn't know that my data corrections had actually boosted sales. Colin isn't computer savvy and doesn't realize the invisible support I offer, much like Beth. Beth never worked even before Orville passed away, so to her, me sitting in front of the computer appears as leisure. But lately, Beth's nagging has intensified for a complicated reason that's rocking our household. It seems to be connected to a previous employee named Annie. Annie and Colin have been friends since childhood, and were in the same classes all through elementary, middle, and high school. After Orville passed away and we had his funeral, Annie started visiting our print shop more often. Since I've known Annie since we were kids, she gets along well with Beth. I heard that Beth strongly recommended hiring her to Orville in the first place. In his lifetime, Orville often criticized Annie, saying, "She's always slacking off, and when she does work, it's sloppy and full of mistakes." When I had to work with her for a few days to transition tasks, I was stunned by how careless she was. She couldn't even operate a computer properly, let alone correct data. Orville used to handle all the important documents like invoices himself because she couldn't even do simple calculations correctly. Then he handed them over to me. Checking her search history, I found she'd only been visiting vulgar sites and dating apps. I couldn't stand her, and it seemed Orville felt the same way. She was mostly there to keep Beth company, but that didn't sit well with the hardworking Orville. The problem now is Colin's attitude. While Orville was alive, he was diligent, but lately, he started complaining to me just like Beth. "You have it easy. You're just messing around on the computer all day while it feels like I'm the only one actually working." I'm certain that both my mother-in-law and my husband's complaints about me having it easy come from Annie's influence. When Orville was around, no such accusations were ever made. Now it's just Beth, Colin, and me living together. I want to keep the print shop that Orville left us going, but it's a struggle. I've been able to increase orders because I can correct data, but we're still in a tough financial situation. The reason? Beth and Colin's reckless spending. Beth has always been a spendthrift, buying brand name items one after the other despite my warnings. Since Orville passed away and Colin became the CEO, his spending has gone out of hand too. Even though it's just the two of us in the business, He's started getting cocky, being hailed as the boss or the second generation of the company. He's been hitting the bars every night after work, and Beth has started eating out for dinner too, since her son is never home. Because both Beth and Colin are spending like there's no tomorrow, our increasing revenues can't stabilize the business. On top of that, Colin took out a substantial loan from the bank for a new venture without discussing it with me, and we haven't been able to keep up with the repayments. Naturally, the loan money is gone, and he won't tell me what he used it for. Being the CEO and inheriting the rights to the company from Orville, he probably thought it was easy to get a loan just to have some fun. Seeing her son gallivanting around with bank loans, Beth thinks we're flush with cash and keeps up her spending to match. It's a vicious cycle, and things are spiraling out of control. I've been covering the monthly payments for the loans Colin frivolously took out. They're costing us thousands of dollars each month. I'm forced to take care of the accounting side of things, so I am paying my way. However, the two of them never stopped wasting money, so I had to force them to do something about the quandary. So I had to put my foot down and explain the reality of our financial situation to them, putting them both on an allowance. The two who were not convinced of the supremely obvious fact that what is not there can't be helped began to act in unbelievable ways. "You know, Annie told me that our company's making good money," Beth said. "Are you hiding and spending it? Annie also said there should be cash and life insurance money left by Orville." Can you believe it? They consulted Annie, a former employee, and trusted her word over mine? I don't know if they actually believe her or are just grabbing onto whatever justification they can to ask for money. Either way, having Annie around, a former employee, has become a nuisance and a threat to me. Things with Colin have also gone cold recently. We once talked about having a boy and a girl before I turned 30, but that's not the atmosphere anymore. I'm working hard, but Beth and Colin are wasting money, eating out all the time, while I'm left dealing with the leftovers. There are two reasons why I'm putting up with this situation. One is my current hobby, social media. I've been posting about the state of my family and work, and surprisingly, it's well received. It's a nice stress reliever and increases my followers. The second and main reason is that Orville had specifically entrusted me with the company. He had said, "Avery, I trust you with our printing business." He had left all financial and customer dealings to me. Unless he trusts me very much, he would not entrust me with the accounting side of the business, where all the company's money moves around. Considering Orville's feelings, I feel a sense of duty to maintain this company. Orville had always valued me as family, as his daughter, and as a coworker. I remember him saying, "Sorry you have to deal with my foolish wife and foolish son, Avery. You don't have to put up with those idiots." I want to continue protecting this printing company that Orville built in his lifetime as a symbol of my gratitude toward him. "Look at you. You're the epitome of unemployment." Colin criticized me today as well while I was correcting a customer's file. The customer hadn't outlined the text, which would cause text overflow issues if left as is. Switching the orders to me directly does take time for data transfer, which can affect delivery schedule. It's pretty insulting to be called unemployed, considering the important work I'm doing. This woman's worse. She's hogging all our money with her nasty personality. Beth chimed in, backing Colin up. It's clear that their main objective is financial. They just want to spend more money. But when they start calling me unemployed or accuse me of having a nasty personality, it's nothing but slander. Despite their attitudes, I try explaining the company's financial situation to them once again. So what happened to Orville's personal savings? Orville's savings have been depleted long ago by Beth and Colin. Not a single dollar remained. So it was even more outrageous when Colin applied for a loan in the company's name. He must have a hidden account. He worked so hard to spit it out. Orville had indeed been a hardworking and honest man. He handled accounting without unnecessary tax dodges, and Beth's lavish spending was taken care of with his earnings. Yet, despite this, the savings were depleted, and now they were talking about non-existent hidden accounts? It was insulting to Orville's memory, and my disdain for them grew. I wondered if continuing to work with Beth and Colin, now so obsessed with money, would really honor Orville's legacy. Then one day, I witnessed something shocking. It was a Friday night. A client had requested a print sample on map paper for a new product catalog. They needed it today, but Colin had gone out for dinner. It was a long-standing client, so I delivered the sample myself. On my way back, I caught my breath at the sight of the couple walking ahead. It was Colin, arm in arm with a woman. Next to them was Beth. Confused, I followed at a distance, unnoticed. The woman leaned into Colin passionately. I recognized her. It was Annie, a former employee. My thoughts came to a halt and I stood still. The three of them, laughing and chatting, grew smaller in the distance. I stood there until the backs of the three smaller people disappeared into a fine steak restaurant. I was stunned. I can't remember how I got home. When I came to, I was sitting in front of my home computer. I couldn't stop thinking about what I had just seen. No matter how you looked at it, Colin and Annie seemed more than just friends. Even though my marriage had cooled off, witnessing this betrayal was unsettling. If Colin is deeply involved with Annie, he'd likely trust her more than me. But what I couldn't grasp was Beth being with them. Beth and Annie were old friends, but seeing them enjoying themselves while Colin and Annie got cozy was perplexing. Were they in a relationship with Beth's approval? As unbelievable as that sounded, it would explain their behavior since Orville's passing. I had wanted to preserve the printing company that Orville had entrusted to me, but I was at a loss. Saturday came and neither Colin nor Beth returned. The two returned home on Sunday afternoon, the day after the day they left. They explained they had bumped into each other downtown and decided to go on a trip, just the two of them. You mean just the two of you? What about Annie? Isn't it three of you? As I calmly voiced my question, both of them burst into rage as if I had hit a nerve. What's it to you about Annie? She's concerned about me and Mom. That's right. Annie works for us. She knows you're trying to hog Orville's savings for yourself. Just by pointing out that Annie was likely with them, both became emotionally charged. If you're the type to monopolize Dad's savings, we should get a divorce. Then leave and don't come back. I've been told to divorce and leave, so I simply said, fine, I'll go, and walked away. I had packed my things the day before, and they were already arranged to be shipped to my parents' home. I can pick up the large items later. For now, I just want to leave as quickly as possible. You'll have nowhere to go, even if you come crawling back. Colin's parting words pierced through my back. Biting my lip, I clenched my fists tightly. A week later, I was contacted by Colin to sign the divorce papers and was called in for procedures, including handing over Orville's business. Colin, Beth, and even Annie were all present. Here, this, hurry up and sign. Before I could even check the divorce papers that Colin handed me, Beth rushed me. It's too late for apologies now. You should be thankful that Colin and Beth aren't suing you. Annie commented obnoxiously, not wanting to appear hesitant. I checked that Colin had already filled in his part, silently signed, and then looked up. All three of them were wearing a slight smile. Okay, now show us all the electronic financial statements, Colin said, so I showed him on the computer I had been using. Beth and Annie peered at the screen from either side as Colin hurriedly attempted to open the electronic financial statements. Their previously smug expressions changed completely. What's this? Annie was the first to speak upon seeing the account balance. Is this correct? Beth shifted her gaze to Colin and murmured. Colin nodded at Beth and then said, Hey, what's the deal? Why does it only say there's $30 left? He questioned me while pointing at the computer. This is all the company's money. Sure, there's some coming in at the end of the month, but as I've explained multiple times, our expenses outweigh our income. We don't have any extra money lying around. I laid it out plainly. You're kidding me, right? We're printing and delivering stuff every day. How can we be broke? It's true that we make around $30,000 a month, but printing requires multiple machines, not just the printer. Lease costs for lease machines alone eat up more than $10,000 a month. The electricity bills are nothing like home expenses, and we have delivery trucks and forklifts to pay for. Since Orville passed away, I've been juggling more than $3,000 in monthly loan payments from the bank. That and our income basically cancels out. On top of that, Beth and Colin have been draining us with personal loans, which cost us another $2,000 a month. I've been handling that personally. Life expenses? I've been covering those too. I reiterated these facts and said, if I don't have to pay off Beth and Colin's debts anymore, I'll have over $2,000 free each month. Life would get a lot easier. Stop lying. We're working hard every day. How can we be broke? Colin, who refuses to understand, gets emotional and starts yelling. Yelling won't change a thing. That's because, yes, we have revenue, but you and Beth have already squandered it with your loans. Once they're paid off, we might save up to $5,000. I won't be dealing with it anymore, but they'll feel the pinch for a while. Let them learn the hard way. When does this all get paid off? Annie poses a practical question. It's annoying, but if I don't answer, we'll go in circles. Bank loans another 3 years, personal loans from Colin and Beth over 5 years. When I respond, clearly annoyed, Annie gasps. Wait, so we're going to be in the red for another 3 years? Annie, who probably had her eyes set on the money, visibly deflates. In the current situation, yes. Finally, the conversation advances as Annie understands. What about hidden bank accounts? Orville must have had some, right, Annie? Beth tries to lift Annie's spirits. It seems Beth encouraged Annie to think about this. Yes, shouldn't there be hidden accounts from Orville? Annie, prodded by Beth, confronts me with wide eyes. She's so blatantly greedy. I've never heard of any hidden accounts during his lifetime, nor have I ever seen any. Maybe you should all go look for it. I have no idea why Annie is insinuating about hidden accounts. She's watched too many movies and shows. Gradually coming to terms with reality, Colin finally spoke up. Wait, so how have you managed to keep us afloat all this time? I had been waiting for this question. Well, I explained how I had been making ends meet by leveraging my personal income. I run a blog on social media called Tales of Struggle in a Small Factory and have over 1 million followers. A substantial advertising revenue is directly deposited into my personal bank account every month. I have to file separate taxes for this income. You'll see it in the books later, but the company's expenses are covered by loans from me personally, so the company is obliged to pay me back. Please consult with your accountant and lawyer about this. This was the most important thing I needed to convey today. Apart from the divorce settlement, I would become a creditor moving forward. I have been taking care of the family up till now, but that ends. They owe me, and I intend to collect. Ew, Colin, you're basically poor even as a CEO. Annie, who had quickly grasped the situation, looked at Colin with disdain. Colin, I can't marry you like this. Goodbye! As Annie turned to leave, Colin and Beth tried to hold her back. Don't worry, we have enough revenue. We can ask the bank for additional financing, Colin reassured her. That's right, Annie. Orville's company is credible. There's nothing to worry about, Beth added. Whether Annie walks away or stays is her call. They were so engrossed in their discussion that I decided it was time for me to leave. Months later, Colin and Beth went to the bank to ask for additional financing, but were declined. Out of options, they had to reschedule their loan payments to be lower, but over a longer term. Whether to call this predictable or just pathetic, I'm not sure. Not long after our talk, Colin and Beth visited my family home. Avery, I was a fool. The company can't run without you. Please come back. Colin pleaded with me at the entrance. I'm really sorry. Avery, I've talked to Colin. Can you please help him? Beth also apologized profusely next to him. They must have hit a financial wall and swallowed their pride to come here. But it's too late. My parents didn't even let us pass the front door. We talked at the entrance. There's no way I or my parents would forgive this. You have good sales, don't you? Why not consult with Annie instead? I pushed them away coldly and they left, shoulders slumped. Watching their retreating figures as they left felt both ridiculous and exhilarating. Solving the problem isn't just a matter of rescheduling. Most of Colin's clients have ended their contracts and come to me directly. Since I had mass emailed my farewell using my personal email, many opted to come with me, knowing I can correct the data. For Colin, who can't even use a computer, retaining clients is a long shot. I've secured exclusive contracts with a major printing company and have no problems with print arrangements. The rumor mill says that Annie is now cold shouldering Holland. Both Colin and Beth look gaunt like they haven't eaten well. I've heard there are even penalties coming from the dwindling client pool. Though they brought it upon themselves, it's quite a dramatic downfall. After getting used to my new life, I visited Orville's grave. Standing there, I remembered his words to me. Avery, I'm leaving the printing company to you, but if you can't stand my foolish wife and son, cut ties with them. They're not bad people, just lost in money. Orville might have sensed that this would happen. I apologized for not being able to save his company and updated him about the recent offer from my lawyer. Orville, the company is on the brink of bankruptcy under Colin. My lawyer approached me about buying it. What should I do? Buying the company would cost tens of thousands, but it's a steal for me now. If used as a subsidiary for the major printing contract, it could be worthwhile. If Colin changes his ways, hiring him as a worker might be worth considering. Would that repay my debt to Orville? But I can imagine Orville in heaven shaking his head and saying, Avery, you don't have to force yourself.